Hey family, hey family, hey family. It is your girl, Miss Michelle Allen Franklin. Yes, Mrs. Michelle D.I. Why? For divine intervention, honey. Because you know there are no coincidences in this world. Only God's divine intervention in our lives. And Mrs. Community Builder, why? Because you know I'm going to give you the good information, honey. The things you need for your mind, your body, your spirit, and your emotions. And I'm always going to be introducing you to amazing people. And this month, it is Women's Month. Women's History Month, actually. And what your girl has decided to do is I thought I have amazing women that I know. So why talk about people that I don't know? I'm going to talk about the amazing women in my life. And this amazing woman, this amazing woman right here has blessed me. She has been she's a dear friend, and she has been just a beacon in my life since the first time that I've met her some years ago now. We've been knowing each other for years now. Some years ago, I guess it's been 14, 15 years, I guess. At least 14 or 15 years now. But nevertheless, Miss Justina, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Very on your
Yes, thank you for coming on and being a guest. I just called my friends and I was like, hey, I need you to come and talk about your journey and talk about your life. Justina is the vice president of the outpatient services at Mount Washington Pediatric Hospital, which is near and dear to my heart. I spent my first 13 years of my nursing career at Mount Washington. Lovely, beautiful place in Baltimore, Maryland. They call it the hidden gem of Baltimore, right? Children's Hospital in Baltimore. It is a rehab facility and just a wonderful, it's like just a wonderful place to bring your child to heal. And to just be loved on, I think, because the staff is amazing, and it trickles down from leadership. And so before we get into Mount Washington and how the great things that y'all are doing over there, I want to talk about you, Justina, because you are the vice president of outpatient services. And that, my beautiful friend, is amazing all in itself. So how did you even start your journey? Like, how do you become the vice president of outpatient department?
like with everything, you just take one step at a time. So I actually had a bachelor's degree in economics, and I got a job, and it was a difficult time when I graduated, where unemployment was really high. I just needed a job, a compensation consulting company, very data, like what kind of fit me, but it was like not really speaking to me.
Okay.
Company ended up, and I had advanced through, and my company ended up moving, but they were really generous to me, and they kept me on like the last person on payroll, and they gave me one of those like outplacement places. I mean, the place was full of like these old white guy CEOs who were like 30, very depressing, but it did kind of give you an idea, like gave me education about how to talk to people, how to just,
Mm,
you really wanted to do anything you wanted, what would you do? And just to make those connections and talk to people.
yes.
So making those cold calls to people. And I decided I wanted to do something that meant something, change the world. So there are things like education and healthcare. And I will tell you, when I was talking to people in healthcare, and Michelle, you can appreciate that. When you go into it,
Mhm.
people tell you no. They're like, oh
Yes.
no, you need to go back and get a this education, that education. No, you just can't do this. And I did find, and it was surprising, it was those higher level people who said, oh, that's not just nonsense. Like people
Okay.
always need new people. Any industry needs good people who are really dedicated and devoted, and you can get there. So I think
Mhm.
there might have been 10 people who said no, but there was one person who said, oh, absolutely, you can do this. You do not need to do this.
I
You don't
love that.
back to school and spend all kinds of money for a career you may not even know you like. And
Yes.
And I did that whole kind of networking, called people. And I think I got my first healthcare job through my sister's husband, who in DC, I was living in Boston, had a friend in Connecticut. That person in Connecticut had a friend in Boston.
See, wait a minute. This is what I'm talking about with God's divine intervention. Like a person over here to a person over there to a person, all in different places. I love this.
Sister's husband. And he's like,
Yes.
yeah, you know, my brother does this healthcare stuff in Boston. And
I
then
love
that
it.
the partner, he does stuff in Connecticut. I'm good friends with this guy in Boston. I call him, and there you go. And it wasn't easy. None of these things are easy. Believe me, I failed along the way. Absolutely. And I'm always a believer of people, like, you'll land okay. Like, even when people get fired or whatever, it's
Yeah.
like, you'll land okay.
You'll land okay.
It's like, oh, there really is another world out there. So I and just move along. And then I did go back to school. Honestly, it was like, now I know what I like to do. I
Yeah.
did go back to get my master's of public health. And here's another thing. I moved down to Baltimore. I'm going to go to Johns Hopkins School of Public Health.
Okay.
I'm going to do. That's my plan. My husband had a job. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll uproot everybody. I'll leave my job because this is what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I apply. And not even a week, they rejected me.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, no. And I called faculty. They just said, you shouldn't be in the School of Public Health. You should do a master's of health sciences. And here's me. I just call people in the department, call Hopkins professors and said, hey, what do you think? And I'm like, no, I don't want that. I do. Like, and I wish I knew me back, like,
Yeah.
20 years ago. Like, who was that person who just walks down to Wolf Street, walks the building? I
love it.
The admissions person, she's at her desk. She's a physician. And she's like, oh, let me look. She looks at my application. She just starts laughing. She starts giggling. Oh my. Because what I didn't know is that program is almost all doctors. It's like 85% physicians. And here's me. I took astronomy in college. Only science class I had ever taken.
That's hilarious.
To me, that doesn't count. So I can take biology, I can take chemistry, I can do that. If that's what you think I need, I can do that. So Towson and CCBC, I take whatever I could get those classes. And they accepted me before they even got my grades. I said, hey, could you imagine, like, who is this person who just walks in and says,
I love that. Just the initiative. That's amazing.
I mean, you don't understand. Like, you don't understand. This is what I want to do. Like, you don't understand. This is what I want.
I love it.
What do I need to do? And again, this was a very senior level person who saw something in me, saying, you really want this? You're dedicated and committed.
Yes.
And wouldn't want that person to go to their school.
Of course. So
I take no for an answer and say, what do you need me to do? I can do that. And it's 85 positions. The other 15% are not. So there's room.
I'm in the 15%, boo. Let me in. I can do this.
15%. Like, tell me what be that 15%.
I love it.
So there I go. And then from there, I had moved around a little bit. I had been a couple places, started at community health centers in the city, which is really where my history was. Like, I really like community health. I just really like it, and I think I grew up poor, so I was really comfortable. And I didn't have healthcare either. Like, I had no health growing up. When you're in a big family, anyone who's been, what that's like. Like, someone in the family gets diagnosed, and all of you I could count on one hand the number of times I had been to the doctor by the time I was 20. We were all healthy, but anyway. And then I think moved around a little bit. And once you're in healthcare, I think there are opportunities for people.
Yeah.
The Rubin Institute, I want to say this, but it's a large orthopedic company, and it just got practice, and it just didn't get easier. You think you're at a place, but it's a brutal environment.
Yeah. With physicians, it's very brutal. I could just imagine.
Yeah. I was a good fit. They had gone through so many directors, so I was a good fit to the bull longer than anyone else.
Yeah.
And the staff, who were great, knew that I was going to stick by them, and I got them to a place where it wasn't this churning. We were going to work together, and I think it was a better place, but I wasn't doing them any favors. That wasn't my strength at the time.
Yeah.
And I think when I ended up at Mount Washington, which I love, been here, there before me, was again through connections. I was just looking, like I had a job, and I'm like, I just really feel like I want to do something different. And someone said, "Oh, you should talk to this one. She really likes her job." And that was it. And lo and behold, there's a vice president position open at the time when I'm saying,
Amazing.
and by that time, I had had a master's degree and I had had a lot of varied experience. Am I perfect at my job? No way. Do I make mistakes? No way. But do I learn things every day? Yes, I do. We all hear what women do. Like they don't try these things unless they have, there might be 10 things on the list of requirements
Yes.
of the job. And if you don't have all 10, you're like, oh no, I can't do that. And
Yes.
we'll be like, I think I've done one of those things. So there's some level of that.
Yes, I love that. And it definitely does remind me of when it came around with me applying for the management position. And I remember I had a bachelor's degree, but I can't remember what was on the list that I was feeling like, oh, I'm not really sure. And I remember you were very supportive of that. Was a lot of people. Simone was there at the time as the director. She was the one who even put the thought in my mind to apply for the position. But I think that is the lesson. It's a very huge lesson of when you want something. And even I feel like, again, and it's divine, God's divine way of just guiding us to things. Like if it's coming across your path, I just don't believe that God is a just because God. Like it's not coming across just because. And
Mm-hmm.
so you can check yourself out of things just going, oh no, I'm not qualified. Or you can say, oh no, this is what I want. I love that. This is what I want. I know I can do this job.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
are you going to make some mistakes? Of course you're going to make some mistakes, but everybody does. You're going to learn from them and you're going to, get better. And so
Mm-hmm.
I just love that. I love that.
You've done an incredible. So when by the time you were prepared to be in that management position, I mean, you put yourself in that path. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
you put yourself. You said you came in as a patient care assistant and said I can become an LPN, and you
Yeah.
do that. No, I can become an RN, and then
Yes.
like I can go into like advancing towards a master's degree. You don't start there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moved in that direction. So those paths, when the time came,
Yes.
crossed for you because you
Yeah.
were heading in that direction anyway.
Yes. Yes, it was beautiful. And the other part of it is, I think, what was the beautiful thing was that, like that lady with you, she saw something in you. I feel like you saw something in me. Simone saw something in me. Like leadership saw something in me. And I think that's the other part people have to, take in and just know that you have things inside of you that you might not even acknowledge yourself. But if someone is saying, I think that you can, or
Mm-hmm.
actually, I know that you can do this, right?
Even if
I know that you can do this.
half in your face when you
Yeah.
first talk to them, like, oh my.
Yes. Yes. And I feel like those type of things really, that's confirmation for me. When
Mm-hmm.
you're doing something, especially, something that you feel in your spirit, like, man, I know I can do this, or I'm headed this direction and I want to do this. And somebody says you can't do it, or you can't, or no, don't do that. That's confirmation for me that, that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
I do feel like that somebody tells you, like, huh, then you're like, why are they saying no? Like, I'm what,
Exactly.
it is, it is. Isn't that weird?
Yes. Yes. Because I always throw a little. The devil is busy, and I feel like he really tries to keep you from purpose in that way, and he will mess with you because you have those insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
I call him. He sits right here on your shoulder, whispering all these little negative things, and you just gotta pluck them off your shoulder and get them out of the way because you'll believe those things if you let it. But trusting and having faith and knowing, nope, I think I am supposed to do that. I feel like if I feel it in my spirit and I hear my little guardian angels telling me, nope, you can do it. You go that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I love that. I love that. I love that. So you touched a little bit about growing up in this big family. Can
Mhm.
you talk a little bit about how that crafted your journey and what did that look like in the state, in our state of what we're in today with all this DEI stuff that's going on and even just women's rights and women's health care and all of the things, like how that you growing up in this big family and just being a woman, how that plays out in your life and how that is, may have affected you or just affected your walk.
One thing that like being a feminist is kind of a dirty word, but I think my father was the biggest feminist around. He
Hmm.
loved my mother and
Yes.
appreciated all the things that she could do. She had 12 children and she
Wow.
was top, and I think he respected her, like her power and her influence and her, like, on him and on the whole family. Because actually,
Mhm.
you find out my dad was really the one who wanted the big family. My mother was just in a generation where you just, Catholic, you just kind of did that. It was something that my father really wanted and really embraced.
Yeah.
And I had 8 brothers. So it's
Wow.
pretty hard to say, oh, only like we just like boys do this and girls do that. When you're all just like, you're all, you were like older kids and littler kids. That was really our division. Like up,
Yeah.
I have 3 brothers. I was like right between 3 older, 1 younger, right in between a bunch of boys. I wore boy hand-me-downs. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Like, that's what you do.
Right. Right.
I just wore boy hand-me-downs. I remember wearing like these, so it was back in the whatever 60s, but like these boy corduroys. Remember corduroys?
Yes.
Converse or whatever. Like,
Yes.
but when you're in your family, and I lived in a poor community, like you don't know you're poor. Like I didn't know
Yes.
until I was much, much older. And I still talk about things about, oh, how we didn't have milk. We had powdered milk because milk.
Yes.
Are you
Yes.
kidding? And people
Yes.
are like, what is that? I'm like, yeah, that's what I like. There's some things that we just had. We ate tongue, which is now a delicacy, but it was a cheap cut of meat.
Wow.
Like now it's
Wow.
a cut of meat. Um, I think you don't really realize it, and that is the power of being in a large family. So I
Yeah.
had siblings, but a lot of people have their extended family, and people feel really supported. You don't feel poor. You
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
like you have what you
Definitely.
need. Like I did have clothes. Were my brother's clothes? Sure, they were my brother's clothes, but I wore clothes, and nobody made fun of me because we were all in the same. And there were some people who may have been more girly girl than I was growing up, and I'm a little bit older than you, but really, like before Title IX, there were no sports for girls. There was like
Hmm.
still had like boys had woodworking and girls had cooking and sewing
Yeah.
classes. But I think really being in a large family, so I mean, I just had siblings. You just really get shaped by your family and you get insulated
Yeah.
by that are out there. So people don't have lots of brothers and sisters in a lot of cases, but they certainly have that extended family, and there's just a lot that can protect you,
Yeah.
um, if you have those people around you.
Yes. So you've worked your way up. You're at the Mount. We call it the Mount. You're at the Mount, Mount Washington. And, coming into being a vice president, like, what did that even feel like for you? Because I could just imagine, did you have that feeling because of the title and all of the responsibility?
I really don't. I think it's just one more step. And I think as you go along, like you don't start there. So if I was starting out in a career, you don't go from we having no
Right.
experience having, being a vice president. And also to be clear, I was coming from a very large organization to a smaller organization. So it was almost just a trend. And then I really did have to grow up. It truly is that the buck stops here,
Mm-hmm.
but you become much more dependent on people like you, Michelle, the people who are doing the work. Like
Yes.
less about me and more about how I can support the managers, the people who are really doing the work. You know what I mean? So it's not like
Yeah.
I'm doing nothing, like I'm very busy. Um,
Yes.
but it does become different about being less of a performer, an individual performer,
Yes.
more about making sure that for managers, like I mean, you can have so many skills, but it is so hard to supervise other people, like because they are real people with real lives and real things going on.
Definitely.
And it just is what it is. And some people like to separate work from life, and I think you would love to be able to. Some people like that, like, I'm going to leave work, I'm going to leave home life, like I can't wait to get back to the office so I don't have to deal with all that.
Yeah.
There's you really have to deal with the people who do the work, and that's really the difficult.
Yes, I know. One of the things I truly remember, and I've always been grateful for, anytime I look back over that time as a manager, is just truly that I feel like I was so supported by you.
Hmm.
And I did a lot of praying and just looking for spiritual guidance. I remember feeling like my grandfather's spirit, because he passed away when I was a baby. And I remember being in my office when I first get in the position, and just having this spiritual feeling come over me, and just praying for guidance. And I thought, Lord, just let me be open, and let me have good people around me, and let me have good leadership and all of the things. And I feel like everything that I prayed for, I received, and I know that I got all that great support from you, and our meetings and everything. And just the it was just another level that I just didn't know existed, you know what I mean, in leadership, the connection that and the bond that we formed, during that time. And you have just truly been a blessing to me. I just always need to tell you that and give you your flowers, because it could have just been very different. You right could have left from your office, or said, Michelle, do this, and gave me a checklist and just, you know what I mean, and let it be. But I felt like we were very much, in the trenches, and whatever idea or whatever I came up with, you were like, okay, let's do it. And I'm so grateful for that time. I feel like I did a lot of growing, just in my nursing journey. That was some of the best years
Hmm.
of my nursing career. And so I just thank you for that. I really do.
Things to say, but you do deserve so much credit for all the things that you've done, and you're really persistent. And I think what you have also done is you will back up every last one of your nurses.
Oh, definitely.
You'll back them up because at the end of the day, they need to take care of the patients. And there's a lot of things that don't really matter, but when it really comes down to delivering safe care and really helping those families, some of the other stuff just is noise. And I think you've always really supported those nurses so they could really, even if you had to give them bad news,
Yeah.
like you had to give them bad news, like you need to be better at your job. Like I think they appreciated it because it was really done with love and caring to make them.
Yes.
Um, and it wasn't, you weren't just going to just off with your head, like, let's make this, how are we going to make this better for you, and be honest and transparent. Like people talk about being honest and transparent, and I don't know that that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I do pride myself in that. And I've always approached it. And I remember, and that's probably part of just the foundation of the premise of what I'm doing now. Cause I pride myself in having, the difficult conversations, but the necessary conversations that you just need to have with yourself. Right. And so it is like, how can we make things better? You're a great nurse, you're great, whatever, but we got to go a step further, because we're not making the mark. And I know that you can do this, and how can I support you through this? And having that love and compassion that I just don't feel like sometimes it's in the healthcare field. People just get the chopping block, like up and on to the next one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, no, you can't just throw people away. And so, yeah, I feel like I've always led with love, and maybe how I would want to be treated. I've always led with what would I want the conversation to look like if I needed to improve, whatever it was, XYZ. And because I want the feedback, me, I'm like, give me the feedback. What else can I do? How can I make it better? What I need to do to fix it? I will fix it. Right. So kind of like you with the lady, like, okay, tell me what I need to do, because I'm going to do this job. I want to do it at my best. And so yeah, that's amazing. And just women, healthcare, supporting women, is the ripple effect of
Mm-hmm.
that is priceless.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the Mount and the outpatient department, and what I could do this, but things might have changed a little bit since I tell us about the outpatient department and what services are you guys offering now? I know
So
when I left, there was at least 12, 13 clinics there.
yeah, so we're a small hospital, but we're owned by the really large Johns Hopkins medical institutions and University of Maryland medical system. It's a complete 50-50 partnership.
Yes.
Really unique. So we get the benefit of the expertise of those very large institutions and some guidance that we get. But at our hospital, we don't deal with needing to do research or needing to teach, even though we do a lot of teaching and we can be sites, but we only focus on patient care. So we're a pediatric hospital. That's all we do. So when you come to our facility, it's very child friendly.
Yes.
We do probably about 40% is pediatric rehab, which is very different. Rehab for adults who have knee replacements and hip replacements is very different from children who need to develop a skill that maybe they never had.
Yes.
Or they're having surgeries and they need to learn to walk or talk or pick
Eat.
things up. Eat.
The feeder program. Eat.
Exactly. So a lot of that goes into our rehab services, about 40% of what we do. And then about 30% is psychology, which everywhere in the whole country, behavioral health is really exploding. We've really worked hard on getting those wait lists down. We also take medical assistance, which like, I don't know what it's like in other places, but in Maryland, a lot of time behavioral health is a cash business.
Yes.
Really hard for people. So even if you have health insurance, you might have to pay up front and see how much money you get back, which some families can do, but a lot of families cannot, especially because it's not a one-time deal.
Right.
Like you might need therapy go ongoing. And it really is type of therapy that could save someone's life. I mean, really.
Definitely.
Have them succeed in school, like just the bare minimum of succeeding in school and being able to feel good about themselves.
Yes.
And then the other, whatever, like 30% is we do specialty clinics. So pulmonary, diabetes, a lot of diabetes children,
Yes.
dermatology, psychiatry. We have a complex care clinic. So for children who have multiple issues, that it's just a lot for a pediatrician to manage. You can come to our clinicians. You have 2 doctors who just will look at the whole thing and manage almost like, really case manage all the things that you do. And like those children, they don't want to go to the ED when they have problems because they don't want to go with their list of 20 problems and have someone say what's going on. And it's like, going through your whole medical history. So we really try to keep them out of the emergency room and manage their care. But a lot of them do succeed, and now they're going into pediatrics and finding those resources as adults just aren't there.
Yes.
The latest thing of how do you manage that for kids.
Yeah.
So in general, like for people, like it is somewhat of a hidden gem because you really don't want to have your children at Mount Washington. You want your child to not need rehab or have diabetes. But we are a good resource for people. And that's all we do. We only do patient care. That's our 100% focus. And I think we're all flawed in some degrees, but I think the people who succeed and stay are the people who, I mean, honestly, just love children and want for them.
Yes.
So if you love children and you want what's best for them, I think that those are the people who come here and stay.
Yeah. I love working at Mount Washington. I started in the hospital. So the hospital is connected to the outpatient department. And so it's 2 units there. And the top floor is for infants all the way up until 13 months, right? 1 year old, 13 months. And then the bottom floor is for 13 to 2 years old on up to 21, right? For medically challenged. And that is a hodgepodge again of different diagnoses, whatever a child may need in being in the hospital. We had children that when the summertime came or got warm, all the little boys would get hit by cars. So you had the little boys with the motor vehicle accidents. You had children that suffered from dwarfism that was short and they wanted to grow an inch or 2. So they would have those surgeries and have these talar spatial frames, which are pins, through their legs, but they would grow an inch or 2 while they were in the hospital. And then you had all the way from kids with cancer or brain tumors or you know, it's everything, you know, any and everything.
What we're seeing, Michelle, that we didn't see, and it really is a sign of our time, we're seeing more gunshot wound.
Oh no.
They're like, not the gang kids, like the innocent bystander, you know,
Yeah.
the kids who come. So they may, they come to us usually because it's actually the wound.
Yeah.
Some people we can have very involved, like brain injury kids. But a lot of them is just, they just have terrible, like the wounds themselves, but having like multiple, like those gunshot wound kids was not like 5 years ago was not a thing. And unfortunately,
In Baltimore City. I mean, it's
and it's, you know, yeah. So,
yeah,
and that looks like all kinds of different things.
surely. Surely. But the other beautiful part about Mount Washington, what I love too, is that, again, like Justina said earlier, it is psychology, it is nutrition, it is everything that you need is there. It's a holistic approach. And that's one of the things I feel like of my foundation and what I've carried with me even to this day and how I teach is that holistic approach to healing. And that's a beautiful thing. So whether you're in the inpatient side or your outpatient, Mount Washington, mwph.org.
Yes. Yeah.
Find the information, honey. I hope you don't need it, but if you do, and they have people to travel because a lot of times the programs and things that are offered there are very unique and successful.
Mm-hmm.
And people are looking for, programs all worldwide. And so people come from all over. So don't think, oh, I'm not in Baltimore, I can't go. The Ronald McDonald House, people stay there. Parents might stay there for long term if their children are there for a long period of time, or, you make arrangements, but support is there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, my beautiful friend, thank you. So this is again, it's Women's History Month. Are there any lessons or anything that you would just like to share? Maybe the greatest lesson you maybe learned from your mom or your grandmother that you would like to share with the women out there for Women's History Month? I know you'll put you on the spot with that one.
Yeah. I mean, I think for a lot of us, where, you know about your mom, and, I'm a grandparent now.
Oh man, that's amazing.
The one piece of advice, which was really shocking, and this was just has led me in life because I didn't really appreciate it. But my mom had 12 kids, so I had my first child, and she was a lot. I just didn't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I knew that she was a lot, but I'm like, Mom, how do you do this? And you said about how do you take care of children? She just said, don't forget your husband.
I love that.
She didn't explain it, but I think what that really meant was you need to do this all together.
Yes.
And you have to stay together. And, then when as I had children, I did really appreciate, because those children, they'll take everything out of you.
Yes.
They'll take every last bit out. And if you don't share some of that, like push that kid on your husband and make sure that you're still together as a whole unit. And now you're doing this parenting and moving forward together.
Yes.
That kind of moving forward, like together as a family. And
I love that.
and I've told everyone that, so my daughter now is, I can see it too. I'm like, oh yeah, that kid's like, she can. I mean, I appreciate how little you can do if you have some little kid around.
Yes.
But I think that was the one thing that and that was just a good model for me that, when I didn't really understand it at all, like my parents' relationship, I didn't understand any of that until after I had my own children and they were older. And then, and it's not like you said, don't forget your husband. It wasn't like, obedient mom, like wife. It wasn't that. It was just, like you have someone else,
Yes.
yeah. So,
I would love that because I mean, it really is kind of all inclusive. And sometimes you do feel like, a lot of women take it on. And I hear husbands complain and men complain, like, the mom will let me touch the baby. The mom will trust me with the baby. But it is allowing that bond to happen with the father and allowing yourself to receive help.
mhm.
It's
Yeah.
huge for women because we really do feel like we have to do it all. And who told you that? you know, if you have the help and you can, then definitely don't forget the husband. I love it, Mom. I love it.
Yeah, so we all are, you be, blessed. And I think your daughters must be very proud of you.
Yes, yes,
They see what
they
you
do.
they're just gorgeous and moving along, no stopping them. And
Thank you so much. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you for coming on and sharing a little bit of your journey with us, inspiring and empowering our women this month of Women's History Month. I hope you had got something from this beautiful story. We are looking at women, looking at everyday women in their life, women that who have inspired me on my journey, my 47 years of living. Well, family, that was Justina Starobin. That is the vice president of the outpatient department at Mount Washington Pediatric Hospital. She has been a staple in my life. Like I said, someone who supported me when I was the manager of the outpatient department. I remember being so nervous but we would meet every day and we'll go over things. And even when I had issues or concerns, or maybe I felt like somebody wasn't treating me or giving me the respect that I felt like I deserved in that position, she backed me up you know and so just another beautiful, inspiring woman. And definitely, I hope you were empowered by her story. I hope that you heard something that would give you just what you need to go out there and get it, honey. Whatever you're dreaming about, what are you thinking about? What opportunity have you been thinking about that you feel like you're not supposed to be doing, or did somebody tell you you wasn't supposed to do? How dare they, honey? You are capable. Yes, you can do it. Best believe if God led you to it, honey, He's going to lead you through it. Okay? Yes. Well, again, join me tomorrow, boo, because I will have another amazing woman. Yes, I will have another amazing woman tomorrow on Reflections, Choosing Me Guilt Free, honey. This is the Women's History Month edition. See you tomorrow.